So as I yeah, so what Splunk collects basically, so it will collect the machine generated data. Okay, so normally, right, so each and every organization will be having like thousands of servers, right? So if you take Amazon or like AWS, or it may be like your company which you are working, so there will be like a number of servers. Okay, and each server will be generating some data. Okay, the data that is generated by the particular system is called as a machine generated data. Okay, so the thing is like so if you take some Windows machine, right, you will be having some data. Okay, if it is a Linux system, the pattern will change. Okay, in the same way, so what we'll get from this data, so let us assume like the machine data, right, is something like a log. You will be getting some information like behavior, customer behavior, and user transactions and all those. Means just a second, I will show some other. So normally an organization will be having like lot of servers, as I just mentioned, and each server generates the data. So whatever the data that gets generated, no, it will be like this. So you will be having some IP address, you will be having some timestamp, you will be having whether the method, like whether it is get, post, or something you will be having, and the user action in the sense what he is exactly doing, whether he is purchasing in this log. No, it is it clearly shows like he is doing some purchase. Okay, and he is purchasing some item, and that item ID is something. Okay, so and I'm able to get this 200 as a response code. Okay, basically, like if I have a lot of logs like that, right, I can derive the particular user interest. Like if he's adding, like this is the session ID of that particular user, and I can extract the products he's interested in, and even like I can get like last 6 months what he has purchased, something like that. Those information I can get. Okay, so so in order to collect this, right, each, like let us assume like each server generates 1 GB of data. If I'm having some 10,000 servers, it will generate some 10,000 GB per day. So our hardware, right, whatever the hardware where uh, that application is installed, right, that can't store that much data. Okay, over a period of time, so the logs will be deleted. So what we will do, right, we will have a solution like log monitoring solution. Okay, the log monitoring solution, there is one tool called as like Splunk. What it will do, it will collect, search, analyze, and visualize the machine generated data. Means basically what it will do, right, it will collect the data, and using the collected data you can search the data and analyze and visualize the data. Okay, so now you know like
Sir,
what is. Yeah, please.
you're sharing your screen?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Okay, now we can see that. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, no issues. Thanks for informing. So just now I told you, no, this is a sample snippet which I had. Okay, so whenever the user performs an action, no, his session ID will be there, and in this session ID whatever the actions he has done, no, everything will be recorded. If I have some multiple logs like this, no, then I can get, using the session ID, I can see like what are the products he has added and what are the products he has removed and whatever the products he has like purchased. So like that I can get like multiple users information also. So but my operating system, right, won't hold the data for longer time, no. It will have some 500 GB or 200 GB disk space, but over time, right, it can't store and the logs will be deleted due to that log rotation policy whatever you have set. So what we will do, right, we will forward all these logs to a Splunk. Okay, so Splunk is a log monitoring tool. So what it does, right, basically, right, it is something like it will collect, search and analyze and visualize the machine generated data. So in our yesterday's class I have shown you, right, like you can collect the data, search, analyze and visualize. Means once the data gets collected, now you will write some SPL queries. Okay, using that SPL queries, search processing language. Okay, SPL means search processing language. That is the language used in the Splunk. Okay, so using that queries, right, we can like draw some charts, reports, and we can configure the alerts. Okay, so now you got some basic knowledge on what Splunk is. Now, so what actually Splunk do? Okay, Splunk can collect the data from routers. Okay, it can collect the data from the server logs, it can collect the data from the from like DNS server, Windows registries. Okay, it can get the server metrics. Okay, and like if you have a virtual machines and all, right, you will get that logs and email logs also. Okay, so Splunk can get all these type of logs. So what are the features that Splunk has? Means like you can write your SPL queries. Okay, so SPL queries, like if you want to know like how many people are logged in, or you want to know like top 10 transactions, or like top 3 products, you can get it. Okay, and there are some other features like alerts and reports. Alert is something like whenever a user is logging into the machine, let us assume like your organization is having some 10,000 servers. In that 10,000 servers, a hacker, what he will do, he will try to take control of one system, and he is doing like multiple relogins. Okay, so everything will be recorded in the Splunk. Whenever he tries to log in, no, the event will be recorded in the Splunk, correct? So what alert will do, right, I can configure alerts for this abnormal behaviors over the system. Means if someone tries to log into the system more than like 10 times, or more than 10 times per minute, or more than 10 times like 100 times within like 5 minutes or something, no, over the complete stack, then I can, it will trigger an alert to an admin or the mail artist, whatever we configure. Now, and in reports you will have, now let us assume like Flipkart is there, or Amazon, or Reliance, any retail, whoever holds the retail, right, they are having. So at the end of the day, right, they want to generate a report on what are the products that are being sold and what is the revenue that got generated. So if we want to get that information, no, instead of depending upon the DB, no, what we can do, right, we can here write some SPL queries and create a report, and we can schedule these reports for around like in your like required time, in your custom time, right, whatever you want, you can create these reports, and we can, and you can configure whether to generate this report for every 1 hour or like every 24 hours. Okay, so like you want to know like what are, how many transactions are paused or failed, okay, on that particular day at 12 o'clock. So you can get those information, you can configure that. Okay, and so okay, so what, this is the OSI model basically. Okay, for the machine data. So in an organization, right, you will be more familiar with this layer. web and applications layer. Okay, web server or app server. Here, right, what will happen now? Normally, right, you will be installing your application in Apache Tomcat or JBoss or Oracle, okay, or on a Windows server. Okay, so what will happen? Let us assume like underlined under your application server, right, there is a big stack over there. So your uh, let us assume like you are installing Tomcat. Okay, your Tomcat is installed in some OS. Let us assume like this is a Red Hat. Okay, and this Red Hat is put on some VMware. Okay, so here this Red Hat server is pinned in some VMware instance. Okay, where you will have a ESXi server on top of it, right? You are having your operating systems, and this VMware is installed in this hardware. Let us assume like it may be Apple server, Dell server, or HP or IBM or Intel or Solaris server, any server. This is the hardware, and this hardware we are giving some, like there is some network layer also involved, you know, like if they want to communicate with some DB server or application server or some other stuff, right? You need to have a network stack, correct? And in that network you are using some Cisco routers or Juniper routers. Okay, and this all resides, these should reside on some storage, you know. You should have some storage, like Oracle rack is there. Let us assume it should be put on this hardware, right, in some storage, you know, in some disk, no. So if you are installing one application server, underlined it, right, you are having this much stack, correct? So the problem may come at any layer. You may get the problem, you are getting some issue. Okay, this problem may not be due to only Apache Tomcat. Okay, this may be due to some virtualization, or this may be due to something like uh, operating system, or it may be due to the hardware. The underlying hardware itself may be a problem. Okay, and your network may be a problem. So the bottleneck can be anything. So if I send all these logs, or if I monitor all this stack with one solution like Splunk or something, no, then it is easy for a guy to troubleshoot. Agree? So in this slide, right, they are telling like some component. Okay, there is some problem with VMware or Dell or some stuff, right? Some network layer got issue. So our goal is to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Correct? Our goal is would be to resolve this issue as soon as possible. So if I don't have a solution where I can see the centralized login, what will happen? Some people will work on this area, and some people will work on VMware, and some people will work on this hardware, and everyone will say, right, normal, the trend, you know, right? Issue is not from our end. Correct? Yes, sir. No one will accept, no, initially. Okay, so but after some time, right, they will troubleshoot and they will let you know like, okay, this component has failure. So this guy Apache guy has to show evidence like the issue is not from here. Okay, then it will go to this guy. This guy will say like operating system doesn't have an issue. Then they will go to this like other layers. Maybe if you have worked in these environments, no, you will know like no one will accept like there is an issue. They themselves are the what to say, troublemakers. Okay, so they won't accept. So it will take a lot of delay, I know, right? They will take, it will take a lot of time. So if the machine is like, if the network or if some, the application, at the end of the day, the application should be up and running. If the application is not running for half an hour or 1 hour, what will happen? If Amazon is not working for half an hour, what will happen? They lose business. Correct? So, and there will be some slow in resolution. The resolution will take a lot of time. Okay, so So what they are telling, right, they need to have a single IT like method. Okay, they need to like they need one-stop solution. That's what they're expecting. So they want the one-stop solution, like whatever the component you are running, you have to send your logs and your metrics to one centralized server, such that they can see the issue. It will resolve that, or it won't take much time, right? If I have any centralized logging mechanism, I can directly see where the bottleneck is. Simple example is like, let us assume like at 9 o'clock or 8:30 I got some issue here. Okay, at 8:30 p.m. okay, my transactions are failing. Okay, the problem may be due to that. The problem may be something like this virtualization had some issue at 8 o'clock. Can you go on mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So you understood, no? How the problems will be, no? Your transaction got failed at 8:30. The dependent factor is why it is failing is there is some issue with the VMware where you are hosting. The issue occurred at around like 8 o'clock. So 8 to 8:30 it was able to cope up and it was able to serve. After that, right, suddenly it was unstable and this transaction got failed. You got it? So how the issues will be? If you get the issue at 8:30, the root cause may be something like 1 hour before or 2 hours before. This is just one example I'm saying. Okay, so we have to the RCA also will be done in such manner. So if you have some Splunk, okay, if you have a Splunk which can get the data from all the stuff, right, like Windows servers, Linux, virtualization cloud, applications, database servers, networking, and uh, other data, okay, from the like this is something like radio frequency, GPS data from like mobile tower signal and all those, right? If you get all these data from here, right, from here you can directly monitor. You can easily monitor and troubleshoot the issues. That's why we will use the Splunk. Got it? Just I will turn on my Splunk. You can ask any question if you have. So this is a Google Cloud. Okay. So what we will do, right? We'll create a new project. I'm creating a project name. Okay. In Google Cloud, right, how you have to log in, right? Whenever you give this console.cloud.google.com, right, so it will be opening this page. Okay, so what you have to do, right, in Google, are you aware of this virtualization? Do you anyone know like AWS, or everyone are new?
Yeah, I know AWS, sir.
Others?
No idea about AWS and other cloud related things.
So why we are doing this? Okay, so why we are doing the lab in the cloud, right? Actually, Splunk requires some 6 to 7 machines. Okay, so our hardware won't be able to support that much. So what we will do, right, for admin, right, we have to create some instances in cloud and we have to do the lab. Okay, for that, right, you should first create a Google Cloud account. Okay, so we can go with AWS also. The problem is, right, there you have a restriction, like you have to use only T2 micro. Other than that, right, you won't use anything, you can't use anything else, you will be charged. In Google Cloud, right, if you see billing, whenever you create a Google account, they will give you some credits. Okay, they will be giving you some 21,000 rupees. Okay, and this can be used for 3 months. Okay, I often use this for class. For me, like only 1K got detected. And here, right, I can spin any instance, I can use any service. Okay, here I can create some 8 GB machine also based on my need. Only thing is, like, the amount will be deducted from here, from this whatever the money that is provided by the Google. That is one advantage. And like once your trial period gets finished also, it won't directly deduct amount from your like credit card. Okay, in AWS, right, it will directly delete if there is some like something if you use any service which is a billed service, right, the money will be deducted automatically here, right. Even though the money gets finished, right, money won't get like deleted by default. You have to enable some setting, then only it will get I mean like deducted. Okay, so that's why you are using the Google Cloud. So if you want to create a VM, no, first what you will have, right, at starting, right, whenever you click on home, right, here, right, you will be having projects. Okay, in AWS, right, there is no segregation of projects. There is no concept of project. Like in one region you can create n number of instances, you can't group them together. Let us assume like I'm running project 1, project 2 and project 3 in AWS, right. Everything will be present in same UI. Okay, using tags only I have to map, or I will be filtering. Here in AWS, in Google Cloud, right, what you will have, right, you can create a project and you can switch between these two. You got it? So I created 2 projects. If I want to work on this one, no, I can click on this one and I can go here. If I want to work on here, no, I can click and I can go to here. Now I'm in Splunk DS. If I go to, this is the navigation menu. In Compute Engine, I'm having something like VM instances. This is where I will be creating the instances. Here it is empty. If I go to other project, no, if I go to Splunk project, no, here I'm having instances. Okay, so you can group them and you can group the instances and create one project under one project so that you won't get confused. If everything is at same place, no, whenever the instances are more, people may get confused. But if you have some grouping like this, right, it will be very easy for us to work on it. Okay, so what we will do, right, we'll create a project, new project. I'm creating this as okay. I got some question. Questions. Splunk hyphen M creating one project. So you can create some 20 projects, I think. Okay, you can create some 20 to 23 projects. So I'm creating one project, Splunk April evening. So this is the notification bar where it will show the status, whether the project is creating or not. So the project has been created. Now if I do a refresh, or I can switch, if I switch, I should see here. See, Splunk April evening. So you have to wait for a while. What will happen, right? Whenever you create the first project, no, you can't immediately create an instance. It will take some time to create an instance. Okay, it will do some, like, compute engine will get ready. It will take about 2 to 3 minutes. So what will happen, right? If you create any instance in cloud, by default, right, it won't have any access, it won't have any ports opened, even if it is like Azure or if it is Google Cloud, right? What they will do, right, they will disable all ports. Okay, why we need ports is, do you know, like, MySQL? Can you let me know on which port MySQL will run? Let us assume this is MySQL. So what is the port for MySQL? Any guesses? Double 306. What is the port for SSH? What is SSH? You can unmute and answer. What is SSH? Why we will need SSH? Any guesses? Even it is wrong, also not an issue. Singers, Naresh, Monica. Any, even if it is wrong, also not an issue. I will correct.
In Putty, we will configure SSH,
Yeah.
right?
So every system, correct. So every system will be connected via one port. Okay. So let us assume, like, any service or an application will have one port. Using that port only, you will connect to it. If you see MySQL, right, its port is 3306. Okay. If you take SSH, no, if there is any Linux machine, okay, in that Linux machine, if you want to log in, right, it will use 22 port. FTP will use 23 port number 23. If you are launching a web application, that uses 80 port. If for HTTP request, for HTTPS request, right, it will use 443. Correct. So all such ports will be disabled by default in cloud. Okay, all the ports will be disabled. Let us assume if I am installing some MySQL, then what I have to do, right, in cloud, I have to open 3306 port. If I want to log into this machine, if it is a Linux machine, then I have to enable the 22 port. Got it? So our next goal would be, like, to open the, now all the ports are disabled. Okay, now what we have to do, right, we have to open the ports whatever are required when you are running an application in the cloud. Clear? No doubts, right? Any confusions? Clear, no? So that opening of ports where we will do, right, we will do in navigation menu. Here, right, you will be having something like VPC. Okay, in networking you will be having something like VPC network. In that you will be having something like firewalls. For a new project, whenever you create, no, you have to do this configuration. So what I have to do, I have to create a firewall rule. So we'll make this one simpler. Okay, I won't enable, like, what I will do, right, I will, for us, right, I will enable all the ports. Okay, I will mention something like Splunk underscore okay. So what I have to do, right, here, if you see here, right, whether I want to allow or deny something is there, right, what I will do, right, I will select allow only. And what I will do, right, here, right, I will mention like all instances in the network. I have to select the first option. I should not select something like specified like a service account. I have to mention something like all instances in the network. Okay, and I have to provide the source. In source you will have something like tags or service account or IP address range. So I will be giving something like 0.0.0.0.0/0. I think it is 4. I think one extra. So what this will do, right, this means it is available for public. So what I'm trying to do, right, I am trying to, whatever the instances that we create here, I am giving allow access and to all the instances with this IP range for everything. Okay, and there will be something like protocols. Now I just now told, we have to mention the protocols. If I am enabling some, if I want to enable something like 3306, I can put something like this. If I want to enable SSH, I can keep something like this. For Splunk, WebUI runs on 8000. So instead of doing all these things, right, what I will do, right, one time I will select allow all. If I select allow all, right, all the traffic will be like available. Means everyone can reach to this instance which is created in that project. Okay, and we have to click on create. So the firewall has been created. If I want to launch an instance, now what will happen, right? How we have to launch now? Click on this one, navigation menu, come to compute engine. Okay, navigation menu, compute engine. You will be having something like virtual instances, VM instances. First option. You have to click this one. Click on create. So I am creating something like okay. I am creating something like Splunk indexer. Okay, here I have to select the regions. So in AWS, right, you will find over here, but here, right, you can straight away select the region where you want to create the instance. Okay, so this is here I can select. I can keep everything as default. Only the change would be here. Boot disk is there, right? Hardware remains the same. Here you will be having something like E2 series. Its RAM is around like 4 GB and CPU is like 2 vCPU. Okay, and what I will do, right, I will change the software configuration. Currently it is in Debian. What I can do, right, I can change it to CentOS. CentOS, I can use 7 8. Okay, and CentOS is 8 stream something. I'll be sticking with CentOS 7. Okay, you can use CentOS 8 also, not an issue. By default I'm getting some 20 GB disk space. In AWS, right, I will be getting only 8 GB if you create a Linux instance of T2 micro, and I'm clicking on select here, right, I will be having one firewall rule. I have to select allow HTTP traffic and HTTPS traffic. Okay, this is how you will create an instance. So once the instance is created, no, it is very easy to launch the instance. Here you will have some SSH button. Okay, if you click, right, automatically you will log in. If it is something AWS, right, then you have to download the key pair and all those will be there. Wait for a while. Okay, so once the instance is up and running, right, you will be having some two IPs. One is internal IP and external IP. So what you can do, right, you can use this external IP and you can log in via putty also. But here there is a ready-made option. If you click on connect SSH, no, automatically you will be logged into a new window. Okay, you will be logging to the server in the browser itself. Sudo -i5, you know, I will be getting the root access. Okay, this is how you will be launching the I mean, like from scratch. If you want to create a project and if you want to start an instance, no, this is only the way. So I want to know, I have copied the IP address. See, I am able to access this from my, I am able to ping from my desktop. Why? Because we have here enabled the firewall rules. Okay, so what I will do, right, I will go to this VPC and there will be something like firewalls rules which we have created, no, based on the firewalls rules whatever we created, no, like something like we are giving all the access, we are enabling all the ports, no, protocols and ports. That's why you are able to access even ping, or if you install something, no, it will be automatically available. Okay, any doubts till now?